I'm Rachael. I'm a community artist mainly based in Halton. I work predominantly with textiles and costumes and embroidery, but usually I'm working with a narrative or heritage element and then bringing it to light with art practice. My role within the Bleach Packer Project, which was a project exploring the Bleach Packer, which is here, an example of here at the catalyst, was to create costumes and outfits for the dancers within the production that then would be projected. So I worked with a collection of fashion students from Riverside College, having them design and go through the stories of the Bleach Packers, the sort of life that they had and the work that they had to do, and creating outfits and costumes based upon those stories. I then created those and then dressed the dancers as part of the project as well. The inspiration mainly actually came from a lot of the stuff here at the Catalyst Museum. So it's to do with the process that the Bleach Packers actually had to go through. So they would literally pack bleach into large containers. And it was in relation to the chemical compounds and the reactions between the chemicals that inspired a lot of the work that the student came up with, so that they created lots of structures and box kind of elements onto the costumes that created sort of these crystal shapes. There was also an element of the fact that Halton has actually subsequently, from the chemical industry leaving the borough, became quite a natural place. There's lots of green spaces, so they then looked at the nature side of Halton and the where the Bleach Packer actually worked, and then mainly just the Bleach Packer, the outfit themselves, what sort of protection that they would have to wear, the masks that they made themselves. We recreated those along with the goggles, and then those costumes were then used as part of the dance. It's mainly to help tell other people's stories in a different way. So working with communities, with students, with other artists, and kind of exploring heritage stories in every sort of walk of life, and bringing that into a more visual world and creating pieces of work either in isolation or, as I did with this project, in collaboration with other people. It's definitely one of my favourite things to do. It kind of came in twofold. I knew I wanted to do something creative when I was at high school, and went home to my parents and said, I'm not going to be a scientist, sorry. And the community element came in when I used to work for Halton Libraries. I really, really loved working with the public and just hearing their stories as people just talk to you as they're researching things, and those two things sort of started collaborating together, and that kind of created my art practice as it is now, really. Not surprisingly, art. In reality, I couldn't get me out of the art rooms. I would be there even at lunchtime. Every possible moment I would be trying to get drawing and any element of that into my work. So I always remember what my English teacher allowed me to doodle while taking notes. So my English notebook was just completely covered with doodles and little things that helped me remember. Physics is always the one that I always felt very sorry for my physics teacher, because my brother was an absolute whiz at physics and I did not follow suit, and science in general. Definitely struggled with those subjects and didn't necessarily engage probably as well as I should have. But yeah, interestingly though, now it's actually now a subject I do find quite interesting. Biggest thing is, two things I suppose would be volunteer. get involved, always set your own boundaries as to what you want to do in a volunteer role, but do as much as you can, particularly at a younger age while you're at university and college. And then the second would be just keep creating, keep drawing. The more you draw, the more ideas will spark in connection to each other and more kind of practices that you can pull on to when somebody goes, I want you to create this, you've actually done something similar in your free time. Basically, just don't stop creating. Just visually absorbing any topic, so just going out and visually seeing things. So for this project, particularly with the Bleach Packers, it was a case of coming here, having a look at the information that they've got, looking at the images, looking at some of their archives, and looking online, and then just absorbing those as much as possible. I'd like to absorb more text, but I find it difficult as being dyslexic, so I rely a lot more on the imagery than the written word. I also would strongly suggest to draw those as much as possible, so it's a case of not just looking at them but actually sketching those images, and you just see more than you think you would do than just looking at the picture. It changes, it's usually the last piece I did. So at the moment it's Bleach Packers, but I actually pulled that back and went to a piece I made a few years ago called Ethelfreda, which is based on the Mercia Queen of Halton, who had a castle. She was one of the first person to build a castle in Halton, not the one that still exists, it's completely gone now. The reason why I think I pulled that one out was it was probably the first true community involved piece of work I did. So it was exploring the story of Ethelfreda with a community group. They then created part of the artwork, which then was included into the final piece that I then completed and displayed. And I think the reason it's my favourite was seeing their faces when it went on exhibition and seeing their expressions of their work being on show. Just completely was like, yep, that's what I want to do. My favourite artist of all time is Frida Kahlo, just from the imagery that she combines and creating a narrative from just a single image. I think the one that pulls me the most is probably the one reason is because I've actually seen it now in real life, was the self-portrait on the border of Mexico and United States, and it's just fantastic. I mean, you don't even need a title. You can look at it and go, yep, that's clearly what it is, and you can clearly see her thoughts and feelings about both countries, and it just enables to share a massive story without actually moving or it's just that single image, and you get so much from it. So an artist-wise, it was Grayson Perry. He was probably over COVID, again, really inspiring because he's working with the public and hearing their stories, and again sharing that as part of their artwork and also adding that into his artwork. But also Robin Wall-Kimmerer, who specialises in moss, and she just beautifully tells the story of her experiences and through moss and lichen that she has studied throughout her scientific practice, and it's definitely something that's inspired me to look further into that and also look further into exploring science as a storytelling topic for art practices and artworks as well.